Welcome to cooking cheap, easy, and tasty meals. We're going to make oatmeal cookies today. And we're going to add some unusual ingredients rather than just make straight up oatmeal cookies. Just to add a little extra flavor. Okay, this batch we're going to start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, and a half teaspoon of salt. We're going to take those and mix them together just with a whisk, just to get the ingredients mixed in. Next, we're going to cream the butter and the sugar today. We'll start with the butter. We're going to add the granulated sugar. Now, brown sugar, 1 cup of each sugar, and it was 1 cup of butter also. You could certainly do this in a stand mixer, but since not everybody has a stand mixer, I am going to do this with a hand mixer. You could probably do it by hand, but you would get a lot of exercise. You feel it, it's still a little gritty. The idea is to get it to where it's creamier, but in this particular cookie, it won't make much difference. Next, we're going to beat in the eggs. Now, every recipe I see says put 1 egg at a time. I have never found that makes a difference. You might want to try it and see if you have a different experience. The next thing we want to do is stir in a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm not going to measure it, I'm just going to guess. I like vanilla. Now we add in the dry ingredients, starting with the flour. And we will do this about 1/3 at a time. Main reason is to try not to get it all over everything when you're mixing it. Which I managed to still do. Oops, a little too much. It's all right, it'll work out. But notice when you do that, you get a little bit more flour flying around. So go with a lower speed until you get it all in there. It'll come together pretty quickly either way, but you'll have less flour in the air if you add it in slower. There's the rest of the flour. Now, I'm going to scrape down the sides real quick. Try and get the rest of the flour into the mixture. All right. Appears to be in pretty good shape. The flour is just mostly on the sides. So I'm going to scrape off this. Now we're going to fold in 2 cups of rolled oats. These are some pralines that I made that became hard before I could get them laid out. So I've chopped them into pieces and I'm going to add the pieces into this. So that adds a little more sugar. Can't go wrong with sugar. But it should give it a richer taste. And I'm going to add a couple of handfuls of pecan pieces. That should be more than enough to give these a little different flavor and texture from regular oatmeal cookies. Now, it's going to take a little effort, a little work to fold this in, but it'll be worth it. Again, if you have a stand mixer, this would be easier. If I'd had a bigger bowl, it would have been easier. But this is the biggest glass bowl that I have. I may have to see about getting one bigger or make a smaller batch next time. Of course, it seems like if you're going to go to this much trouble, you ought to make as big a batch as you can actually make so that you have as many cookies as you can get. Just keep turning it over, poking it down. Turn it over. Okay. I would say that's pretty well mixed. We'll see when we go to lay out the cookies. I'm going to use a silicone mat for this batch to see how they'll do. And we'll try and make them a little smaller to see how that'll work out. Try and make them the size of the scoop as opposed to making them as big as I can make them. Okay, I'm gonna put these in the oven. I'm gonna try 10 minutes to start with and see what I get. It's been about 15 minutes, so a little bit longer than normal, but I think it's because my oven is too cold. Anyway, they're browning, they look pretty good. They obviously expanded a little bit more than I was hoping, but they should come apart pretty well, and they will taste good. They may not be as pretty as some. We'll let them rest for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to move them over to the rack. And we'll pull the first batch of cookies off and see how we did. I should pull the whole mat over here first. Let them cool a little bit more off the heat of the pan. Okay, that's better. Now they're a little more flexible. Oops. I probably could let them sit a little longer. Still pretty hot on this mat. So that probably is making them a little more difficult to get loose. Next batch I'll make will be smaller, or I won't put them as close together at least. But they feel just like oatmeal cookies. I have a feeling they're going to taste pretty good too. Can't go wrong putting praline into something to make it taste good. Unless you just don't like pralines. So there's our first batch of cookies. I'm gonna move them out of the way and load the pan again. We're gonna do 10 this time. Took about 15 minutes to do those. I'm going to set this to 12 minutes. I raised the temperature to 375. We'll see how that goes. Okay, here's the next batch. And putting 10 on the sheet rather than 14, that came out better. They didn't spread over each other. So that was good. So we're going to let those cool. Okay. So reducing the number of cookies I made in each batch and making sure that they were consistent size definitely improved my output. However, the cookies tasted good either way. I got more than 2 dozen cookies out of it. That should be a good indication of what you can get out of this recipe. I hope you enjoy them. They're really delicious with the pralines and the pecans. In fact, everybody I gave them to liked them better than any of the other oatmeal cookies I've ever made, which is amazing because I really think some of the other ones were pretty good. I hope you enjoy them. If you try them, let me know. Thanks. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and give us a like. Thank you.